Well, this year's wheat crop is now in the bin, but that doesn't mean this year's wheat harvest is by any means over. With half of all of Oklahoma's wheat crop headed for export, some Oklahoma grain elevators are facing a real dilemma, namely how to get grain here shipped there. Here's our Brian Bindley.
Well, now, while we may be a vehicle-driven society, it's the railroad that runs much of the business across the country. As we found out here recently, though, due to consolidation in the industry, it's becoming harder and harder to ship products, especially in rural areas.
Wheat harvest is over for much of the state, and the trucks are beginning to roll in. But these trucks aren't bringing wheat straight from the field.
Just over full. Everybody's getting filled up.
And the backup is because of?
Just to make room so farmers can still dump the other elevators, and they have a train load out over here.
This year's bumper wheat crop has left elevators like this one here in Kingfisher full to the brim, but it's empty railways like the ones I'm walking on right here that are the major concern. Because without rail carts, Oklahoma's wheat can't be shipped to market, leaving much of the state's wheat captive in these bins.
The demands that it's put on elevators is with this bumper crop, we filled storage space pretty quickly, and grain movement out has been a challenge. Trucks are busy in the fields pulling grain in. Rail cars are in high demand and therefore backlogged. Therefore, the challenge has been moving grain out.
Jay Minton is the general manager for Plains Partners and says Kingfisher is one of 5 locations filling up fast, making a chess game out of storing the wheat while they wait on rail cars to be delivered.
You wait your turn, it's probably, you're on a list or you have order dates, and it's kind of a first come, first served basis. Also, we're faced with this bumper crop, probably a little better than what we expected, and therefore it's presented more challenges. We filled up faster, space that we thought we would have, we don't have anymore.
Union Pacific is responsible for rail cars in Kingfisher and did not return our calls when asked for a response. Minton says that cars have to be ordered months in advance, a tricky process when this year's wheat matured faster than expected. And when over 50% goes to export markets like Mexico, rail provides the most direct route.
If we have the rail car show up, then it's going to an export market directly. Whereas with the trucks that we're loading, it's going to a terminal in Enid, we're handling it twice, and then it's going to an export market.
A process cutting into margins that ultimately return to the producer. Yet farmers aren't the only ones that feel captive. Much of rural Oklahoma companies who depend on these services are in the same predicament.
Just the price of coal and its effect on electricity rates affects everybody in the state of Oklahoma.
And the reason why Western Farmers Electric Co-op built its own 14-mile railway to move the coal necessary to generate electricity for 500,000 homes and avoid the captive shipper state they were in.
Total aggregate savings to Western farmers over this period was about $46 million.
Before the new rail, Farmers Co-op was charged double the normal rate of long shippers. In fact, legislation is underway to scrutinize railway activity with the Railroad Antitrust Enforcement Act of 2007. This act will allow the Justice Department and Federal Trade Commission to review activity under antitrust law. Oklahoma Congressman Frank Lucas.
I work very hard to keep the short line shippers like Farm Rail up and going, not only in Oklahoma, but the companion facilities across the country, because that provides some competition to a degree to the bigger outfits.
Since we talked to the congressman, the House has passed the Antitrust Act. And on a local level, Kingfisher received 200 rail cars, shipping over 700,000 bushels to market.
And Brian, for someone who may not be familiar with the grain business, why is this so important to Oklahoma?
Well, agriculture is the second largest industry in the state. And if you take Kingfisher, for example, those grain bins could hold 1 million bushels of wheat. And at $8 a bushel, that's $8 million going directly into the community.
Well, thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Rob.